Captain Sarah Chen had seen many strange things during her 15 years aboard the exploration vessel Meridian, but nothing quite like the palm-sized creature that had somehow materialized in her quarters 3 years ago. The being, which she'd come to call Pip, resembled a cross between a hummingbird and a jellyfish, translucent wings that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, and a body that seemed to shift between solid and ethereal states. Pip had appeared during a routine survey mission in the Kepler 442 system, somehow bypassing all of the ship's sophisticated security systems. The crew had been baffled. How had something so small traveled through the vacuum of space? How had it gotten past their shields, their sensors, their sealed airlocks? But Pip had been harmless, even helpful. The little creature had an uncanny ability to detect structural weaknesses in the ship's hull before the scanners could. It would flutter frantically near problem areas, its wings pulsing in urgent orange patterns. More than once, Pip's warnings had saved the crew from potentially catastrophic system failures. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the ship's xenobiologist, had been fascinated. "It's like nothing in our databases," she'd told Sarah during one of their evening briefings. "Its cellular structure defies classification. Sometimes it appears to be carbon-based. Other times it seems to exist in a quantum superposition. And its brain-to-body ratio..." She'd shaken her head in wonder. "It's off the charts." Sarah had grown fond of the tiny being. Pip would often perch on her shoulder during bridge duty, occasionally chirping in what sounded almost like commentary on their navigation choices. The crew had initially been concerned about alien contamination, but months of testing had shown Pip to be completely benign. If anything, the ship's systems had been running more efficiently since its arrival. The mystery had deepened when they'd discovered Pip could understand human speech. Not just respond to tone or gesture, but actually comprehend complex concepts. During a particularly difficult negotiation with the Zephyrian Trade Consortium, Pip had suddenly become agitated, flying in tight circles around Sarah's head while chittering urgently. Following what seemed like the creature's advice, Sarah had altered their approach to the negotiations, ultimately securing a far better deal than expected. "How did you know?" she'd whispered to Pip afterward. The tiny being had simply settled on her palm, its bioluminescent patterns shifting to a soft, pleased blue. But it was 3 months ago when everything had changed. The Meridian had encountered a massive void stalker, one of the predatory spacefaring creatures that haunted the outer rim. The beast was ancient and enormous, easily dwarfing their ship. Its psychic emanations had overwhelmed their mental shielding, leaving the crew paralyzed with primal terror. That's when Pip had done something extraordinary. The little creature had begun to glow, not its usual gentle bioluminescence, but a brilliant, pulsing radiance that seemed to cut through the Void Stalker's influence. For just a moment, Sarah could have sworn she saw Pip differently, not as a small, harmless being, but as something vast and powerful compressed into a tiny form. The Void Stalker had recoiled as if struck, then fled into the deep void without a backward glance. In the aftermath, Pip had fluttered weakly to Sarah's shoulder, its usual vibrant colors dim and fading. When she'd gently cupped it in her hands, the creature had looked up at her with what she could only describe as ancient, knowing eyes. "I'm old enough now, human," Pip had whispered in perfect, crystalline English, the first and only time it had ever spoken. The voice was childlike, yet somehow contained depths of experience that made Sarah's soul ache with recognition of something profound and timeless. Before Sarah could respond, Pip had simply faded, not disappeared, not flown away, but gradually become transparent until only empty air remained in her palms. Now, 3 years later, Sarah stood on the bridge of the Meridian as they approached an uncharted nebula. The crew had long since stopped asking about Pip, though she sometimes caught them glancing at the empty spaces where the little being used to perch. The nebula was beautiful, swirls of purple and gold gas clouds that seemed to pulse with their own rhythm. Dr. Tanaka's sensors were picking up unusual readings, organized energy patterns, structured electromagnetic fields, signs of vast intelligence operating on a scale beyond human comprehension. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez called from the communication station, his voice tight with awe. "We're receiving a transmission. It's coming from everywhere at once." The view screen flickered, then filled with an image that made Sarah's breath catch. It was Pip, but not the palm-sized creature she'd known. This version was enormous, its translucent form spanning what must have been light years, wings of pure energy stretching across the nebula itself. Yet the eyes were unmistakably the same, ancient, kind, and filled with affectionate recognition. "Hello, Sarah," the being said, its voice now carrying the weight of cosmic authority while retaining that familiar warmth. "Thank you for taking care of me while I grew. Your species has such a wonderful gift for nurturing the young even when you don't understand what you're nurturing." The crew sat in stunned silence as Pip continued. "I am what your languages might call a nebula shepherd, one of the eldest who tend to the great gardens between the stars. What you knew as Pip was my larval stage, learning about smaller scales of existence, preparing for my role as a guardian of worlds." Sarah found her voice. "You were just growing up?" A sound like cosmic laughter rippled through the bridge. Speakers. "In a manner of speaking, my kind experiences childhood on the scale of individual relationships, adolescence among the planets, and adulthood among the stars themselves. During my time with you, I learned something my elders had forgotten, that wisdom often comes in the smallest packages, and that the most profound strength is found in gentleness." The massive being's attention seemed to focus more intently on Sarah. "Your species fascinates us, Captain Chen. You adopt strays, protect the vulnerable, and find family in the most unexpected places. This is why the eldest have decided to offer humanity something unprecedented. Partnership among the stars, not as subjects or servants, but as equals in the great work of tending the cosmos." Sarah felt tears streaming down her face as she realized the magnitude of what was being offered. Humanity's first contact with a truly advanced alien civilization, and it had come about because they'd shown kindness to a lost child, no matter how strange that child had seemed. "Pip," she whispered, and the cosmic being's form shimmered, with pleasure at the old nickname. "Always, Sarah. In every universe, across all scales of existence, I will always be your Pip." The future had just become infinitely brighter, all because humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their boundless capacity to love and protect the small, the lost, and the innocent among them.